7 of us here, so I welcome all of you. I'm glad to see you today, and want to welcome Joe McFarland from Stephenville, a new member to the club. And in a little while, I'm going to ask Joe to tell us more about himself and his collecting interests. But to get started, Gene, can I count on you to keep notes?
There'll be sort of notes. Remember, I can only do one thing at a time, so I can either participate or I can take notes. I can't do both.
That's all right. Peter will elaborate on them and fix them up. We can count on that in the newsletter. Thanks a lot. All right. What we usually start with is show and tell. Rick, do you have anything for show and tell today?
I can show this letter that I got. I showed it at the other meeting, so see if I can find it here. Is that one coming through?
No.
Just got all the icons.
I don't see a letter, just icons. There it is.
Okay. I ordered a stamp from a guy in South Korea, and it was mailed on October 26th, 2020, and I got it February 13th, 2021. 3.5 months later.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of nice. And is that showing up too? That's the stamp that I ordered.
Shows perfect.
Okay. Kind of an interesting looking stamp from Portugal. Got the simpler crosses in the perforations. I thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, that's my show and tell.
All right. Thank you very much. Gene, anything for show and tell?
No, I've got a whole bunch of stuff for the program, but nothing to go and show and tell.
Okay. Ken Aldridge.
I've been going through Germany. I've got, I'll talk about later, but I found this stamp and the cancel shows this guy with 2 black eyes, and it looks like he's playing a kazoo or something.
Now, where's that stamp from?
Germany.
You sure he's not supposed to have the 2 black eyes?
Oh. Anyway, it caught my eye. That's
All
it.
right. Skip, anything for show and tell?
Well, yes. Some of you have shown this kind of thing before, but I got this, somebody's dues check to me. And it has 2 10-cent stamps, but all the rest are 1 penny, making up the 55. And of course, it just barely has enough room for the address there.
All right. Thank you. Judy, anything for show and tell?
No, sir.
All right. Stanley.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Joe McFarland, I know you weren't prepared, but keep things of interest. Is there anything you have for show and tell?
Not at this time.
Okay, well, mine's going to be a tell. I don't have anything to show you, but on December 13th, I mailed a package from Granbury containing stamps to a fellow I trade with in Ames, Iowa. And around Christmas time, he reported he had not received it yet. And I had faith that it would show up. And a week or 2 into January, he again reported that he had not seen it. I saw that my chances of it arriving safely were diminishing, and we went through all of January, and on the 13th of February, exactly 2 months to the day, he received that envelope. Now, it was a common envelope size of 55 cents postage with nothing on it in the line of markings that would indicate any reason for the delay or any place that it would have gone. So it took 2 months to get from here to Iowa. So,
Geez.
but
Went around the world, the back.
yeah,
way.
it may have been long traveled or sat somewhere for a long time, but I have no idea why. Now, I did load it down with stamps, a little like the one Skip showed there, and that I always send all my mail with postage on it, and they average at least 5 or 6 stamps in every envelope I sent or ever send. But that's my tell for today. Okay.
I've got, Dave, I've got a topic that came up this last week, and it has to do with media mail. And I know a lot of people send stamp albums and catalogs and anything, almost anything phonetically by media mail. And I don't think it's right. But interestingly enough, on a website, stamp website, Facebook website on stamps, this last week, this subject was brought up, and Wayne Youngblood, who we all recognize, he writes a lot of articles and a lot of publications, and he said that stamp albums are okay for media mail, and I disagreed with him because the fine print says it has to be educational material, and it spells out like testing and exam type thing, or results of testing, books, CDs, and if there's any advertising in catalogs, they're not supposed to be allowed media mail. And I suggested to him, I said, this would be a great topic for one of your articles, Wayne, to get it out there, and let's kick this around and find out exactly, what you can do or can't do.
Yeah.
Anybody have any ideas on that? I had heard that same thing, that like stamp albums were not available to use media mail. Although quite a few eBay people do use media mail.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the regulation is. I'd have to look it up, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some regulation there. I think it was a loose leaf thing that has replaceable pages. Weren't supposed to be able to use media mail on it. But
Well,
I'm
kind of keep your
Can
eyes
you
open.
include correspondence with that? Is that acceptable under media mail? Because I know with printed materials, getting the book rate, you can't have correspondence.
Right.
With
Right.
that.
Right. And I send books out all the time, media mail. There's no problem, with that. But I see a lot of people as saying, they're advertising something for sale, an album, stamp album, and it says will be sent by media mail. And I think, woo. So and maybe the post office is not pursuing it, not checking into it. I don't know.
There was a news story this past week, and I forget whether I saw it in Lynn's or in the Week, but one or the other said that in the very near future, delivery is going to change from 1 to 3 business days to 3 to 5 business days. That's going to become the official policy on first class mail, and that the rate is going to go up significantly.
Get really mad.
That's what they're going to do to try to get out of this post office bind.
Yeah.
So buy all the forever stamps you can right now. There's no telling what they're going to cost next month.
Yeah.
All right.
Dave, I do have a show and tell.
Okay, go ahead, Stanley.
I was going through,
You're okay.
yeah, I was going through some of my German envelopes, getting ready to put them for sale, and I came across one. Okay, it has got 2 Hitler 6 PF stamps on it, but it was canceled
on June the 16th, 1945.
Wait a minute.
Now, that was after Hitler's fall.
That's right.
Several months.
Yeah.
Now, those stamps, Stanley, look to me as if there is a black mark over Hitler's picture.
Uh-huh.
That was used in numerous places after the war because of the shortage of stamps
Uh-huh.
That was prior to the AMG stamps.
prior to, yeah, the AMG in
Okay.
that interval when, right after Germany fell. You'll find them in Mikkel's. I believe you'll find some of them listed in Mikkel's. And you should look up to see if those two stamps, or is that marking, is there anything in that marking, or is it just a black obliteration?
No. It looks like a black obliteration.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's probably what it is.
probably
Like-
what it is, which I got to admit, that's an envelope that I would be very interested in, to be honest with you, Stanley.
All right. I'll put it aside for you.
Thank you.
It can be yours for $300.
$300. Okay, that's a
Real
little out of my
bargain.
price range, but I
Got a
see
bargain.
I see that Gary McNamee has joined us. Gary, we're just wrapping up the show and tell. Did you have anything for show and tell?
No, I didn't have anything for show and tell. I was having network problems getting in, so.
Okay,
Well, we're
welcome.
glad you showed up.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. All right, Joe, do you mind taking a few minutes and telling us about your collecting interests for the club and introduce yourself?
I'd be happy to. Well, I'm retired Texas A&M, retired Air Force. Started collecting stamps as a kid and just collected off and on, not seriously, but odds and ends. Never threw one away until I married my current wife some 32 years ago. And her dad was a specialist stamp collector. So I supported his habits. And he collected about anything and everything. Then he passed away last March actually. And I was given the task of, well, don't give the collection away. So I'm doing my best to not give it away, trying to find good places for it. In the meantime, it's re-sparked my interest in stamp collecting. So I'm kind of marching through the US stuff. But I mean, he had, well, as a specialist collector, he'd collect, mint stamps of the US until 2000. They figured it was too expensive. So he then branched out into foreign, into first aid covers, into postcards, into anything imaginable. So I'm having a tremendous amount of fun.
I bet you are.
So are you picking up the collection of everything and
I've got it
Continuing it?
all. I've got it all.
you've got it all, huh?
Are you going to add to it? Are
I
you
think
going
I
to become
will.
a collector yourself?
I think I will. Well, and he after he went from mint stamps, he went into used stamps of any kind, anywhere, but he kept that current. So the only two used stamps I'm missing in the airmail collection are the Zeppelins. I think I'll add to those.
They're
So-
nice. They
Are
really
you
are.
now into collecting the world, or you're still specializing in just US?
Well, I'm still moving through the US, but I will end up with the world because, well, for example, he had all the British colonies back to kings I never recognized from everywhere. So I've got to go through those.
Well, Joe, welcome to the club, and Gene, you and I'll have to include him in some of our exchanges.
We get Jim from Brownwood and you and Joe, we all sit on my back porch and have lunch.
Yeah,
I'd love to do that.
not on days like today when it's 80 degrees, I'd be happy to.
Yes. Yeah.
Days like a
You mean
week
last-
ago when it was
Last Tuesday
minus,
wouldn't work for you? You mean last Tuesday wouldn't work for you?
last Tuesday when it was -2, I don't think I'm interested.
I don't think he'd be able to thaw out the hot dogs in time for that.
Okay. All
Joe?
right.
Joe?
Yes,
Yeah. You were in the Air Force. Were you at Scott Air Force Base in the 80s?
let me think back. I did reserve duty there in the 80s, yes.
Yeah, well, we know each other. I'm
And what's your
Stanley
name?
Christmas. And we worked together.
Your name again?
Stanley Christmas.
Oh, yeah, oh, yes, yeah, sure, you bet.
Yeah. Because
Yeah,
when I saw
you're
the
right.
membership there, I said, oh, there can't be two Marshall McFarlands.
Yeah, that's right, I'm it, yeah.
Well, it shows it's a small world.
How about that?
Well, I used to be
That
in the National Weather Service with Skip Ely too.
Yeah.
That is great. That is great. All right. Gary, any news from the International Society of Worldwide Collectors? I got my notice of their auction, and I was fortunate to get 5 of their lots in their auction. You're muted, Gary.
I didn't enter the last one, but I will enter the next one. Been kind of snowed under with work lately, so
Is that literally?
yeah, about 5 inches worth.
All right. Well, I've got the chance. I did want to state that the Texas stamp dealers have a stamp fair at the Doubletree Hotel in Richardson on, this is their first one, which will be April 9th and 10th. So that's still a little over a month away, but I wanted to give you a forewarning in case you wanted to go to Richardson, where they'll have, well, 6, 8, or 10 dealers anyway there. So, Gary, do you mind sharing with us? Do you have a where in the world is it?
I do. This location has gone under a lot of different names. Their first stamp was issued in about 1890. And the country name that I'm looking for was first overprinted on their stamps starting about 1909. And one of the features of some of their overprints is that the period is missing after the name of the country. And I'm not sure why anybody puts a period after a name of a country on an overprint, but that's one of the things about their stamps that's interesting. They were issued initially under a former designation rather than the country name. And then there was a long gap in their stamps. And then independence was declared in 1965. And they were what was called an unrecognized state until their last stamp was issued in 1978.
Gary,
yeah.
Considering the date of their independence, are they an African nation?
Yes, they are. And I'll give you another hint. They were occasionally referred to as Southern, their name.
Southern Rhodesia.
Yes, it's Rhodesia then.
Okay.
So anyway, they were also under the name of the British South African Company for
Right.
some of their stamps.
Yeah.
There's a very large group of people in Australia that study Southern Rhodesia. Their club is called the Southern Rhodesia Study Group.
Huh.
And it's surprising they have probably a couple of hundred members. I don't know why. Southern Rhodesia.
Why Australia?
I don't know.
I wonder.
I
Okay.
did a flow chart on some of the name changes of those African countries. I was so confused. I finally sat down and researched it, and did a flow chart. I've got it around here somewhere, but
Is that something you could share with some of us,
Yes.
Ken? Because
yeah.
I collect all of the Portuguese colonies that were there.
I
I'll
collect
dig it out.
information.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thanks, Gary. Joe, that's something that Gary does for us the most months. It's a test, and you're supposed to try to guess that country and chime in at any time with questions or responses. And so feel free to
Gary
participate.
gives a $50 prize if you get it right.
Well, you're way ahead of me on that one.
Judy, that's where we may be able to give one of our gift certificates to the person
There
that
we go.
selects it.
That's
Take
Judy
that
and
load
I,
off Gary.
we have not been giving gift certificates for these Zoom meetings for the months we've been meeting, and we've been doing it for several months now. However, Judy did reinstitute it at the Arlington meeting this past month, and we will be at our meeting today giving gift certificates. And I conferred with Judy and suggested that if we had 1 to 5 members, we'd give 1 certificate. Up to 9 members, we'd give 2, and 10 to 15, we'd give 3. And looking at our attendance today, we'll give out 2 certificates, Judy, if that's okay.
No, it's not. I'm gonna give out 4.
Okay. I'm not going to deny anybody a gift certificate.
My chances just went up.
Oh, there.
This year. And
Now,
so I don't want to get too packed up on them, so we'll give out 4.
now, Joe, the gift certificates that the club gives out, most of them, are they $5 or $10, Judy?
They're $10.
They're going to be $10 each. They can be used for any of the club activities except dues, which Skip has a lot of club material for sale. We have club sales books. We have auctions. And as a matter of fact, my mind has been on an auction, and I think I'm going to plan an auction for the Granbury group not too long after we start meeting in live time. And I'm figuring that'll be about August. I mean, August for the auction. That'll give us a couple months of meetings to get things together. But the auctions are things that club members have that are maybe access to their collection that they want to dispose of and share with other collectors. We have lively bidding and not usually high price stuff. Most of it probably around $5, maybe $10, and off several things a little more than that. But we're not talking hundreds of dollars or $50 often for most of this stuff.
I'm glad you said often. It
Often.
does go up there every once in a while.
That's right. There's got to be a few jewels in there that people are willing to pay for. So thank you, Judy, for bringing up the gift certificates and making that a part of our meetings now. Now, is there any other business we have before I get into what our program is?
Well, Friday night at 7 o'clock, there's a Zoom Expo meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Oh,
Our program, what I had suggested that each member tell about how you spent your Blizzard days with stamps. I'm going to allow each participant to go up to 5 minutes to share with the group. Also, if you wish, you can talk about your philatelic activity you've used to bridge during this lockdown. I mean, the lockdown's now gone on for nearly a year. Or if you don't have anything to say related to that, you can talk about a single stamp and why it's your most prized stamp, or a story about a particular stamp. So consider that. Rick, do you mind starting?
I don't mind. I've got plenty of things that I've been working on. So I've actually been collecting videos, primarily stuff off of YouTube and anything that was related to philately. I've attended a lot of the stamp chats and those sorts of things, during this whole pandemic that's been going on. But recently, I have tried to come up with a listing of every country that ever produced stamps.
Hmm.
And it's a little harder than it seems. So there's books out, like this one, and like this one, that lists some of the dead countries. And you go through some of the old albums and things. There's countries like Abyssinia, which is now Ethiopia or something, and it's like, man, how do you keep up with all this stuff? So I'm trying to come up with a spreadsheet to list the countries plus the date that it was in effect and issuing stamps. And it's quite a project. It's another one of my projects that's going on.
That should keep you out of
Well, I
trouble.
look forward to seeing the results of it in something you issue, you write, or publish.
I will put that out to the club if you guys are interested in it, but I'm sure it's going to take me a while to compile all that data.
Yeah.
Well, one of my favorite collecting areas is dead countries, of which I probably collect close to 30 or maybe 40 of them. And I find that fascinating.
It is indeed.
All right, Ken Aldridge, I'll leave it up to you.
Well, I bought 3 stock books of Germany from a guy in the Netherlands, and I got them about 4 weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago, and I've been going through those almost every day, sorting the mint from the used, DDR from Berlin, and semi-postals. I don't like to see those mixed in an album. Now, I only have used Germany. Used Germany is post World War II is what I collect. So I spent a lot of time sorting through this and putting some of the stuff up for sale. And I've sold quite a bit of it, the mint, semi-postals and DDR and Berlin and so on. But I have, this all boiled down to this stock book right here, which I just finished today. It's all used, and there's 25 pages of about 150 to 200 stamps per page. So it's about 4,500 stamps that I'm going to be putting up for sale, because I have gone through all these to compare them to what I might need in my collection. And amazingly enough, there was only 2 or 3 that I needed. But I did improve a lot of my cancels. I like in my collections, and I don't have that many. I have Germany and Canada, really, basically all I collect anymore. But I like to get a cancel that shows the year of issue on a stamp. And if I can get that, and it's not, distract from the stamp itself, cover up the denomination or something. So I've been doing that, and I've really improved my collection from that standpoint. But anyway, that's what I've been doing for the last 3 or 4 weeks, is going through this. I still have a few mint sets, and I've got some used semi-postals that I need to catalog, because I don't save the semi-postals either. I just, the regular issues is what I save. So it's kept me from getting into my income taxes. That's my goal.
It is too.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ken. Skip, share with us what you've been doing.
Okay, well, there's been three things I've been working on, and actually it goes back to the first of the year or even to Expo. But the one thing I've been working on during the blizzard, some of you may have seen Peter's note in the newsletter about a donation I picked up from him just before the start of all this. And I've been going through that, sorting it and trying to figure out what to do with it, either for beginners or silent auction or mix pick or chance board or whatever. So that's a lot of fun, actually. You know, that's like going through the mystery box kind of thing. Oh, look what I found kind of thing. So I've been doing that. And also we had a new member join at Expo. I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Sai, S-A-I, and he's from India. And I put together a starter kit of India stamps for him. And in the process, of course, I went through the my excess India that I had and discovered that there were a whole bunch of Indian stamps I had misidentified. So that was an adventure. The third thing that I've been working on, and I'm almost completed, is the club member handbook. And I'm almost ready to go to press. If I can get that done this week, I have a goal of mailing it out then next week. And the one thing, though, that I see in this meeting, Joe, I have not received your dues for the coming year. When you joined, you only joined for last year. So if you're intending to stay a member, I'll put you in the member handbook, but I will need your dues somewhere along the line. 12
Send me an
bucks.
email, send an email and I'll pay them.
Yeah, okay, well, I did send you one, but I didn't get it back. So I'll do it tonight. And if you don't get it,
Check spam. Check spam.
yeah,
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. I will, yeah.
because I use my ham radio call sign as my email, n5tjb@flash.net. So it may have shown up in your spam notice.
Right, I don't recognize that at all.
All right, well, I'll try again tonight. If
Okay.
not, I'll give you a phone call. I think you included your phone number on your application.
Yeah, either way, be happy to.
Okay.
Skip, are you giving members a chance to any changes in their personal information or what they collect?
Well, yes, if they included it on their renewal notice, you know, if a lot of members just sent me a check rather than the renewal notice that was in the newsletter. But mostly all I've done is make a few corrections in phone numbers, email, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because my collecting interest had diminished quite a bit. I'll send you a note.
Okay, all righty. You already mentioned Canada and Germany. I can easily delete anything else that's in there.
Oh, all right. That'd be great.
What format are you using for publishing that? Is that Microsoft Word or?
Yes, Microsoft Word. And that's actually the only reason I've got a subscription to Microsoft Office is this member handbook, because I have a Windows 7 computer, or I have a Windows 7 computer. And last year, as the support for that was ending, I decided to buy a Mac. And the software that comes with the Mac is more than sufficient for my personal needs. So, but for the member handbook, I sort of needed to have something that Office Depot could print. So I continue to keep that, so that's what it's done in is Microsoft Word.
Okay, would it be possible to publish that in a PDF format as well?
Yes, except that as you know, the member handbook has phone numbers and email addresses and that sort of thing, and a lot of people would prefer that not be put out there,
Okay.
For everybody. But the rest of the news, except for that part, and maybe the collecting interest, except for that part, yeah, that could easily be put on the.
Well, yeah, that might be something we could put on the website, as long as we don't include the personal information for everybody.
Sure.
Something we need to consider.
Well, I can send that to you. I can send the entire newsletter or the member handbook to you. And if you're want to do that, you could edit it out, edit the appropriate things and go from there.
Yeah, I can do that. Then create a PDF file. Be great. Thank you.
Skip, to help you out with membership, I'll give you the money for our friends in Weatherford when I see you later this week or next week.
The Rimmers,
Yes.
I just deleted them today. I'll put them back in.
Yeah, you haven't gone too far, so go ahead and put them back in. I think we need young members like that, and it'll be taken care of.
Okay.
Thank you. Judy, would you share with us your ventures during the storm or the lockdown?
Well, the first part of the lockdown got old real quick. Because I don't collect stamps anymore, so I really didn't have much to do. I mean, nothing was going on with the club. But what I do want to say is, I used to collect Mint US, and I had collected beyond 2000 and decided it was just too expensive to continue. And the ones that I needed were of course, the expensive ones. So I kind of started just selling off my collection. But I mean, the whole principle of collecting stamps, it's in the hunt, looking for that special stamp to fill that hole. And that's what was, so enjoyable. But my most enjoyable moment was when they had the lottery for the Legends of the West. And I contacted all my neighbors and friends and relatives and said, would you mail in an entry form for me? Well, I ended up with 10 of those sheets. And, I don't know how many are left in the safe deposit box. All right, two. We've sold the other 8 then to, like Ken Kurish and other members in the club and so forth. But that to me was just, I mean, I never won a lottery before. And that was just, very exciting. So that's my story.
I got 7 of those. I did the same thing as friends, and end up with 7 of them. And I am down to 1. The last one I sold, I think I sold for like $50 or $60. The price has really dropped on those.
Yeah. Well, we have one that we've never opened. So it's in press, and that I'll give it to my great grandkids.
Yeah, there you go.
And can I have a refund on the one I bought down to $50 or $60?
Too late.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave.
And tell us about your ventures during the storm or the lockdown.
Well, my daily routine is I get up in the morning and I go to eBay, and I'm looking for examples of the 4.5-cent White House stamp. I have marked on eBay for the daily postings of pre-cancels. let's see, inauguration covers, first flight covers, actually, of course, the 809 and the 844 stamp themselves. And I spend about probably an hour, hour and a half going through everything. I normally find one or two new examples every day. And I'm up to now to about 2,000 different 4.5 cent stamps. And most of those are pre-cancels. So anybody that collects US and says that they've run out of things to collect, I would say go look at pre-cancels, because if I can find 2,000 of the 4.5 cent, you can imagine what else is out there. So, but anyway, that's pretty much been what I've done. I've also went back to my Christmas Island, and I'm looking for stamps that were issued by the Straits Settlements in Singapore. And these were in 1900, the Straits Settlements took over the Christmas Island, and then in 1942, when the Japanese invaded, there was Japanese occupation stamps, and then in 45, when the Japanese were defeated, there were Malaya issued British military authority stamps, and then in 1948, Singapore took over the postage stamps for Christmas Island, and that continued to 1958, when Australia was given the postal responsibility for the island. And so anyway, so I'm all full. I got all the Christmas Island stuff from 58 to forward. So I'm going back now, and I'm looking on eBay for bargains for Singapore and the Straits Settlements.
Okay, thank you, Stanley. Gary McNamee, can you share with us any of your ventures?
Well, during the blizzard, we had the rolling blackouts, so I was not able to do a great deal when the power's only on for about 45 minutes and then it's off for 45 minutes. I was kind of concerned about the pipes more than I was about my stamps. But other than that, I've been working on the Australia stamps. I'm sorry, the stamps that Skip gave me in the box with in the glassines from New Zealand and Australia, to look at those and decide which ones I want to purchase. And then he also was kind enough to send me a starter set for the UK of stamps that he was distributing at one of the shows. And I think it has about 350 or so British stamps, and I was happy to receive that today via Day coming by and dropping it off. So those are the things I've been looking at, and then I need to get back into the auction at the International Society, which probably is going to be coming in either the end of probably in March, I presume is going to be the due date on this one. So I'll have to get some bids in on that. So that's all I've been doing during the blizzard and some of the pandemic times.
Gary, I think the date is first week of April.
Okay.
I just completed mine and mailed it yesterday, I think.
Good.
All right, Joe, share with us a little of what you've done during the storm or the lockdown.
Well, with stamps, a lot of it was doing the inventory that he always meant to get around to doing, but didn't do. So inventorying primarily the US of all kinds. Then trying to find a way to high grade into my own collection and dispose of the rest at face value. And I found a vendor of mine who would take stamps, US stamps, mint stamps after 1945, face value.
Wow.
So unloaded a bunch of those. And then my father-in-law had stamped envelopes. He had 2 shoeboxes full of stamped envelopes. So for the 20 cent up to 34 cent, I've been adding the stamps he had soaked and used for mail, putting those together to give at face value to this vendor. So I am disposing of the excess and keeping the best.
Well, you get on a good deal if you find a vendor that pays you face.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and most of them 40 to lucky if you could get 50%.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, see, I'm a rock collector and I buy rocks from him, so it works out both ways.
Okay. All right. Gene, take a few minutes to tell us about your ventures.
Okay.
And thank you
Well,
for
let's
helping
see.
me come up with the topic for today.
Well, today is especially appropriate for what I want to talk about. Some years back, some of you will recall I have said before, I got seduced by a couple of tempters named Denny Ludlow and Dave Stockbridge. And they talked me into giving up some of the focus that I'd had before and getting into worldwide stuff. So I've spent about 10 years doing worldwide to the neglect of the one topical that I have been doing for 50 years and more. So I decided over this last week to get back to it. And for those of you who know I've mentioned it before, this will look familiar to U.S. collectors. This is the Scott 1066. It's the 1955 commemorative for Rotary International. And my topical collection of Rotary International, you may have also seen one other of note. If you see at the bottom of this page, there we go. You see Monaco. That's our little movie star stamp. It shared the screen with Cary Grant in a movie called Charade. So if you've ever seen Charade, you've seen that. But there are hundreds of countries that have issued stamps for Rotary International since 1955. My one major collection is about 60 volumes now of 50 pages each. And I have duplicates and excess and so forth of another 60 some odd volumes. But along about 2005, which was the 100th anniversary of Rotary, some 60 or 70 countries added their contributions. And I got bogged down in that, and then it tailed off in 2006. And Dave and got me involved in this Rotary thing. So there was a space of 10, 15 years when I didn't look at my Rotary collection. And this past week, I've gone back and found that over the last decade or so, there's about another 30 countries that I overlooked and didn't get. So I have been tracking them down now. And the reason I say it's particularly appropriate because February 23rd is the anniversary day of the founding of Rotary International.
Wow.
It's especially appropriate that I get to talk about that today.
Yeah.
In addition to the stamps, back in 1956, I joined what was called the Rotary on Stamps Fellowship. It was a bunch of collectors organized under the American Topical Association to look at the Rotary stamps. And it lasted for about 7 or 8 years. After the 1955 anniversary, the stamps began to tail off and interest diminished, and the Rotary on Stamps Fellowship sort of disbanded about 1962. Well, in 1968, I got the old mailing list, cut and pasted a newsletter together, and sent it out to all of the collectors who were in the original organization to see if they wanted to start it up again. And I got enough response that we created the Rotary on Stamps Fellowship. American Topical Association welcomed us back as one of their study units. In the 70s, Rotary International agreed to let us use their name as one of their World Fellowship activities which they were suspicious of to begin with. They thought if they let the stamp collectors do it, as one return put it, even the piccolo players will want to do something like that. And he turned out to be right. But Rotary decided that that's okay, that these fellowship activities are all well and good. So I continued to grow that Rotary on Stamps Fellowship under ATA and under Rotary until the mid 80s. And at that point, my job at the university got so complex that other groups, other men took it over. And they have continued to grow the Rotary on Stamps Fellowship to what point now that we have this. Here's our bulletin, comes out every other month. We publish a stamp album, which is so many volumes, it costs $145. A stamp encyclopedia, 2,300 pages for $125, and a catalog for $27. We have enough money in the till now. I ran it nearly broke, but we have enough money in the till now that we are one of the sponsors of the American Topical Association. We have helped produce their Topical Adventures Handbook and will be one of the sponsors of the Great American Stamp Show in Chicago this year if it comes off. So Rotary on Stamps has gone all the way around the world. And as of last Wednesday, we held our Zoom meeting. In our Zoom meeting, our president from Canada welcomed Rotary on Stamps Fellowship members from Australia, from Taiwan, from Argentina, the United States, England, France, Israel, and Montenegro.
Wow.
The time frame on that was incredible. It was 3 o'clock our time here in Central Texas, but it was midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning for some of the folks that joined us. So this thing has just gone great guns. We are now at the point that we can influence governments to produce stamps. Local clubs have begun producing their own personalized stamps for anniversaries and so on. The Stephenville Club did an anniversary cover for its 50th anniversary some years back. And Ken Jones and I produced a cachet cover. Ken worked on the business part of it. I worked on the stamp part of it. Ken's wife designed the cachet, and we sent those out to our club members. We've got another anniversary. Our 75th comes up in May. So the club will probably decide to do something for the club's 75th anniversary, and I'll be sure to let the Rotary on Stamps Fellowship know about that. So what started with literally a cut and paste newsletter in my little study at Fort Lee, Virginia, has now turned into an organization that's got enough money to support the organization that supported us when it began. So that I am very pleased to report.
Oh, that is
Amazing.
Amazing, yes. Thank you very much, Gene.
It just grew beyond all expectations.
Okay,
I think
Joe,
our Mansfield Rotary Club would love to hear you give us talk about that.
Well,
sometime.
you know, stamp collectors like hearing about stamps. I don't know if Rotarians like to hear about stamps. I did a history of our local club, and it seemed to me the low point of our programs over the 50 years that I was reporting on was the day the guy came in and talked about his stamp collection.
okay.
You got to consider the audience.
Well, I'm going to take a minute or two to tell you about what I've been doing. I was fortunate before the storm hit that a couple of weeks before that, I'd seen Jim Myers, a dealer in Capel, and was able to pick up, I think it was 8 or 10 albums such as this, this is an album of stamps, which that one's empty, but it's Romania. And these were old albums that he had bought, as well as I saw Jack Urish from Dallas, who is in the Dallas Stamp Club, and does a lot of the trading and organizing that, a little bit of what Skip does, but probably even more in the volume of stamp trading. And picked up albums such as this. And I had 3 of these to go through, and as well as Skip contributing to a couple of albums to it that I went through. So I had lots of stuff to go through. And being, I can't call myself a worldie where I collect the entire world, but I probably collect a third of the world. So about a third of the countries, I'm looking for stamps and got albums for them. And Judy, you talked about the search. It's wonderful to take the days it takes to go through something like this and find one stamp here and 2 stamps there. And probably the most prized find was from Jim Myers, from an album that was owned by his father, because Jim's father was quite a collector. And he gave me an album that his father had made of the country of Italy. And I went through the entire postage stamp part and did not find one stamp that I needed until I got to airmail. And he had 3 sets of airmail stamps, all used, because that's all he collected was used, from the 30s that I had none of.
Wow.
And the unfortunate part of that is that catalog price for those stamps ranged from $20 and $30 to $200 and $300 per stamp. Fortunately, I'm paying Jim just a fraction of catalog value for those, but I have added them all to my collection, and I now owe a debt to Jim Myers. That is how I've spent my time going through these large, extensive collections and added significantly to my collections. So thanks. Let's go to the door prizes. Judy, did you want to run that? You got a system or?
I do. Yeah, it's pretty much like what we do in Arlington. I've given everybody a number. So Joe, would you give me the first number from 1 to 9?
7.
7. That's Stan.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
All
Good
right.
going, Stan.
Give me
I
another.
think it's fixed.
Yeah, Joe, pick another number because the numbers are in front of me. So pick a number.
Let's go for Gene, 3.
3 is Gary. Okay, Gary, can you give me a
Yeah.
number?
Oh,
I'm
a number, between 1 and 10,
Yes,
2.
2. That's David.
Thanks,
Hey,
Gary.
Okay, David, give me the last one.
4.
4. No, give me another number because that's me.
All right. 6.
6. That's Joe.
Well, thank you.
hey.
Yes, wonderful.
Yeah, and these gift certificates are also good at TSDA.
With the dealers.
Yeah, with the dealers.
I'll
Good.
mail them to you, get them out to you later this week.
Great.
Thank you very much, Judy. Look
Thank
forward
you.
to it.
Well, thank you.
And Joe, it's really nice seeing you again.
Nice seeing you.
In closing,
together.
Nice to be seen.
our next Granbury meeting, branch meeting, will be the 4th Tuesday of March, the 23rd of March. But before that, there will be an Arlington virtual meeting, March 3rd.
Mhm.
Isn't that correct, Judy?
Yes,
Followed by an Euless virtual meeting on March 17th.
Yes.
So everyone's welcome to attend those meetings as well. And I will plan a meeting for March 23rd. And if you have suggestions for programs or wish to do something as a short program, and I think if you do a program, it should be 15, 20 minutes, no more than that. We can spend the rest of the time visiting and sharing and keeping up to date. So let's think of programs that way. And Rick, you said you had some you might consider. So we'll see what we do. It'll be in the announcement that Skip sends out next month. And Skip, I thank you for handling that communication. So until next month, we can stay on and visit as long as any of you wish to. The meeting is officially over unless someone has some parting words.
Don't forget the expo meeting on Friday.
Oh, yes, yes. There's an expo meeting on Friday at 7.
7, right.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll stop.